Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 7 of our Versus series. I have a special episode for you today. One that you should never forget. Although, you should never forget any of my episodes, of course. Our topic for this episode is discussing versus debating. And why debating is infinitely worse than simply discussing whatever you feel needs to be discussed, either with your partner or with others. Whatever you feel needs to be covered. All right, so without further ado, we are going to get straight into this. This is a very important topic, by the way. You have to check yourself when you're with your partner or with others. Do you find yourself arguing most of the time? Because that's stress. You know what stress does? It slowly kills. That's right. It's a killer. I'm talking about your life here. It's a slow kill. Stress is not for anybody. I don't even care if your profession requires you to debate constantly. You better seek to change professions. Otherwise, you'll just end up like everybody else. Miserable, bitter, sad, depressed, angry at the world. Trying to take out your negative emotions and thoughts on others like punching bags. That's not good. And that's why I chose this topic right here. All right, so let's go over the basics, shall we? That's how we do things. Discussion and debate are different in the following ways. In a debate, participants listen so they can defend their own position. Already you're on the defense. Look at that. How's that anxiety for you? I can have debates. I can crush people in debates. But the problems, you'll see how worthless it really is in the end. And eventually win the argument. That's the problem. Both participants, if whoever's involved in the debate wants to win the argument. There are no winners in debates, let me tell you that. Because there's always two sides, right? And maybe even more than two sides. So who has the most supporters? That's who the winner is? Majority rules, minority rights? That system never works. And as far as democracy is concerned, it's not a perfect system either. So whoever has the most money, the most power and influence, or all of that, yeah, that's how that works. But we're going to only limit it to relationships for the sake of this stream. In a discussion, here we go. Different sides present their ideas and perspectives on a given topic to persuade others that their position is right. Not all the time. It's not always about right or wrong. Most of the time, it's about the need to express yourself on certain viewpoints that you feel are important to the discussion or to the topic at hand or the situation at hand. You see, discussions is what problem solvers run to. Debates are what troublemakers run to. One is destructive, debating, and the other is productive, discussions. You have to know the difference. Despite these official definitions here, I haven't seen one debate that was intelligent or productive. Not one. Debate is combative. There you go. And seeks to be victorious. There are no winners. While discussion tries to play nice. No, nobody's trying. You must be nice. Because you're trying to invite the urge to debate. That's an impatient standpoint. And one should always have maximum number of patience. Now, with the right people. Not with people who want to waste your time or try to bring you down. They don't deserve nothing. Not one word from you. Group discussion involves sharing ideas and perspectives in a collaborative Very strong word there. Non-competitive environment. That's the difference. While debate involves arguing, you see, you can't argue with that. Debate is literally arguing for or against a specific position or idea. Even if you're arguing for something good, why not just have a discussion? Why so combative? Just calm down, right? We'll get into it. Group discussion focuses more on exploring ideas and finding common ground, while debate focuses more on persuasion and winning arguments. You can see how one of them is more manipulative than the other, right? A discussion is an exchange of opinions and ideas, whereas debate is a form of formal contest of argumentation between two people or groups. So hopefully already you can see just how much of a time waster debating is. I hope you already see it because we're going to get into it. Alright, some more basics. Group discussion versus debate. Group discussion aims for a clearer understanding. Now, doesn't that sound more humane? Less formal, with less rules. Does not need the two opposing sides. Exactly. We can all just speak together as human beings, right? Does not always need an audience. Nope. It could just be two people, as in this case, your partner. Or your family members, if you choose to have kids. Or your family and friends. The family you grew up with and the friends you've made along the way. Even acquaintances or people in general. So, you don't always need an audience. Does not need to have guidelines on taking turns. Well, you should be polite. You should allow each other enough time. See, this is the problem, especially online. People don't let each other talk. Now, that's okay if the other person doesn't even deserve to talk because they're being nasty and rude, and you could do whatever you want. I don't mind. But in a civilized conversation between two people who actually care about each other, yes, allow the other person to speak, be courteous, and if they're trying to interrupt you, hopefully it's in a polite fashion. Hopefully they're trying to interject, but it should really be like this. You speak, and then when you're done, you ask the other person to speak. That way there's no interruptions, because it happens all the time. You know, people get passionate. It can happen to anybody. So make sure there's a back and forth. For example, here's a good tip. If you're having a conversation with your partner, hope you listen closely, because this comes from yours truly. Put a rubber ball in your hand, right? It's like a microphone. And then when you're done stating your point or yada yada, pass that ball over to your partner. It's not a stupid kid's game. It teaches you both how to master the art of communication. You know, listening, how to listen, how to speak peacefully. You don't have to be in a rush. And once you're done with your point, and be courteous, don't be speaking for like 10 minutes straight. This is a stream. I have to speak for an hour straight or an hour and a half if necessary. But when you're in a relationship scenario, try that. If you find yourself always interrupting each other, one partner or both, grab that ball, pass it to each other when you're finished talking. And then guess what? You no longer need that damn ball when you guys master how to wait and not interrupt each other and how to speak calmly, productively. No wasted breaths here. No negativity. All right, let's move on. Okay. More cooperation is manifested. Less complex. Participants aim to share ideas to the listeners. May not have a specific conclusion. Yeah, it doesn't have... You see, that's the problem with debates. Who won the debate? Maybe it requires more debates because it's not finished yet. It's just... Why the rush? So let's go to debates. Aims to determine which side has a more credible standpoint. Be very careful with that word credibility. You know how many liars there are out there who have the credentials? Oh boy, credibility is only as good as the truth. Understand? More formal with more guidelines. Well, it depends who's in control of such a debate. And guess what? Even the judges of the debate can be biased. and treat the other opposing side pretty poorly. I've seen that. I've seen biasness in the credentialed ones and the judges all the time. Even informal debates. Essential to have two opposing views. See, you guys gotta argue, right? How productive is that? Not at all. Needs an audience. How to properly take turns. Well, you see, that's kind of odd, isn't it? They say it does not need to have guidelines or taking turns in discussion. Yes, it does. In debating how to properly take turns, that's what I did with the ball. Right? They have a buzzer, or the judge says it's time for you to speak, or a light goes on. I mean, that's just, that's the way it's supposed to be. But why in opposition? Doesn't make sense. You see, that's where they both coincide. Right in the middle, straight in the middle here. So why the debate? It's so similar to discussion, might as well just have a discussion. Why the show? Why do you have to put on a show, a silly show? Aggression may be manifested. Oh, it will be manifested. More complex. Participants aim to persuade the listeners. That's the problem. See, now you become an actor. You're trying to influence the crowd. Just like the slaves in the Colosseum to win their independence, their freedom, right? Supposedly. They have to win the crowd. So they have to put on a spectacle, right? And with a specific conclusion. Rather than discussion could be, hey, part 2 tomorrow or a few hours from now. Let's take a break. No need to rush. Well, in debating, it's all about rushing and being aggressive. That's just so ridiculous. Unfortunately, in this evil world we live in, too many people participate in adversity. Okay, so explain versus discuss. Let's go over explain. Explain means to make a concept or situation clear to someone by describing it in more detail or revealing relevant facts. Yeah. Versus discuss. Discuss means to talk or write about something in detail, taking into account different issues or ideas. This is a really thin line because discussing is explaining. I mean, if you want to split hairs here, because in discussions, you are making a concept or situation clear to someone by describing it in more detail, maybe using facts. So this is really splitting hairs here, which I disagree with. That's why I chose the word discussion, not explaining. We explain something by clarifying what, why, and how something happened, versus we discuss something by examining it in detail. Well, isn't that detail? Explaining. Taking into account different issues or ideas. And I have to show you this because the supposed experts out there, they toss this completely perplexing stuff at you, and they're like, look, there's a difference here. No, this is just nonsense. And that's why I go over these things. Explain questions require descriptive answers. Okay, discuss questions require critical answers. No, not necessarily. No, because what if you both agree? Then it's not critical. Why so many critiques? Why critique at all if something's decent or good enough to good to go? You see, that's why I have to show you guys this. All right. So that's all it is when it comes to foolish debates, arguing senseless points instead of simply discussing your points or your points of view with your partner peacefully and with a problem-solving mindset. Therefore, debating is for the weak. Discussions are for the strong. Because you say, okay, you want to discuss this? You want to have a conversation? But if you have arguments, then present them as questions. Hey, what about this? Well, hey, could I share to you that I think this, right? And if you guys disagree, you disagree. Wow, big surprise. It's how you disagree that counts. Right? Are you going to start getting angry at each other? I mean, it depends. Is it something that is unjust? Because that's what we have the court of law for. That's what we have the police for. Everybody arguing that we don't need the police. No, you kind of do. You need some type of person in between. I mean, here's the problem. Does every police officer conduct their job appropriately? No, it's just like anything else. You have good painters, bad painters, good engineers, bad engineers, good doctors, bad doctors. The list goes infinitely long. Any profession, it all depends on the practitioner or the person in the profession. End of story. You can't make a blanket statement and say, this argument, everybody agrees with this argument. No, you'd be surprised. So it's how you deal with the situation that matters. In debating, everybody gets all heated and arguing, and then they have this adversity, this resentment towards each other, and that could turn violent, by the way, after the debate is over. It could actually turn into harassment, all these negative outcomes, instead of just simply having a peaceful discussion over whatever's being discussed. Now, with your partner, you better make sure that you are not arguing all the time. Oh, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. And then you got to involve your friends and family and whoever. What a silly time-wasting game. Is it really that important, people? I mean, debates are never productive. They are always destructive, in one way or another. Playing the whole who is right and who is wrong game, I mean, that's only going to cause further division and future life-wasting arguments that can literally kill your relationship, by the way, if you're not careful. That's right, because when it comes to conflictive, that's what I put in my book. Conflictive beliefs and arguments, a very special section of my book, of the 120 plus topics. That's how important this is. You do not, when I say eliminate all forms of negativity, that means you do not debate each other. You do not bring these silly negative games into your relationship. And you should try not to do it with anybody else, for that matter. If somebody needs to be put in their place, put them in their place. But when it comes to your partner, that's a whole different situation. Because the last thing you guys need to be doing is having these silly arguments and debates over what? Just goodness forbid that it's something either political, scientific, historical. That's just a waste of time. How do you know what the truth is, anyways? Now, when it comes to matters between you both of you, well, you guys better settle those differences amicably. You guys better figure it out. Otherwise, you're not a good match, and you won't survive. You'll never become soulmates. It depends on the severity, case-by-case basis. But yes, arguments can kill your relationship. And debating can actually turn into serious arguments. This happens all the time. The stupidest little subject turns into a relationship killer. You would never imagine. Because one thing leads to another. It escalates. Now, you see people arguing all the time. Even those in formal debates. They act all high and mighty instead of calmly sharing their viewpoints with each other. Make sure every conversation you have is a productive one. In one way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you're wasting your breath, you're wasting your time, and you're experiencing negative emotions and a bad time, right? For everybody. Because it's destructive debating. Being productive is always seeing what you can do to make this world a better place. Even if it's with your partner, what can you do to make your relationship a better relationship? If that's not on your mind every single day, you don't have to be chronically obsessed over it, but just make that effort. What can you do? And especially if your partner deserves your love, by the way, because there's unfortunately many people stuck in a mediocre, negative relationship where they're arguing with each other, where they have a bit of resentment. They treat each other like maybe a sexless marriage, yada yada. That's just a failed relationship on its last leg. I feel very sorry for people stuck in that situation. They're only harming themselves. And they'll never be happy. They're too scared to break up. They're too scared to slap the divorce papers on each other. Not everything has to end in negativity and big argument. Some people get divorced amicably. They settle it nice and peacefully. But others, they got to make this big spectacle out of it. And that's really immature. Now, depending on what happened, I can understand the emotions. One should vent their frustrations. But when it comes to setting goals and accomplishing those goals, you have to be level-headed. You have to learn how to just settle down sometimes. Just calm down. All right. It's easier said than done for a lot of people. That's because they don't train themselves to be that way. They insist that the negative way is the only way. That's reality. No, that's your reality. It's also about the way you talk to each other. Whether it's debate or discussion, which you shouldn't have debates, as I already went over. If you must vent about something that happened, that's okay. But don't take it out on your partner, creating a silly debating scenario. Simply share your thoughts and feelings, okay? Like this quote right here. Talk peaceful to be peaceful. You are what you do. And you are what you think. You are how you feel. That's what you are. So take a little bit of self-reflection and take a close look at your partner. Are you guys going to make it with those types of attitudes, those types of thoughts, those types of feelings, those types of conversations? Hopefully they're positive and productive and not negative and destructive. You guys got to check yourselves and check each other. It's teamwork. There should be no adversity whatsoever between a couple. No adversity. No silly arguments, no strong beliefs that, well, let's just agree to disagree. It depends. Can you live with each other with that disagreement? If the answer is barely no, you got problems. You guys better toss such a thing out the window. Otherwise, you won't make it. Everybody wants to come out of a conversation saying it was nice talking to you. People pretend to like you, especially online. They'll be like, good to see you. They don't mean that, okay? They're just going through the motions. Now, those who really mean it, okay, fine. But most people, they don't mean it. People are mainly actors out there, especially online. They play a certain persona. I'm coming to you genuine, and that's why there's rarely anybody else as genuine. But I do maybe find them here and there, but they have to express themselves first in order for me to evaluate them. Most of them, though, they're not genuine. So just because you had a nice conversation with them doesn't mean that, you established any type of trust or respect. It's just a show for them. It's not a show for me. But I had to learn quickly, throughout all these years since YouTube 2006, when it first started. I mean, all this interaction online with people in social media, MySpace, Facebook, it doesn't matter. Twitter, YouTube especially. There's a lot of fake people out there. Make sure your partner is not one of them, please. Pleasant conversations is what communicating with love is all about. If you are upset or emotionally out of control, feeling negative emotions, do your best to communicate without yelling, arguing, or reliving a horrible memory, if that's what the topic is. Okay? So make it a pleasant one. Make it a nice environment to speak to each other. That's the point. With your partner. With everybody else, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, because people these days, they just don't care. That's why I learned to just not care either with them. But when it comes to my soulmate, you bet your bottom dollar that I'm gonna give her all the attention and then some. Because she gives me all the attention and then some. So it's mutual. It goes both ways. You think that this is an easy concept, but I've seen the way people treat each other in relationships, whether they're married or not. It's pretty bad. I mean, there's a lot of them without any patience, no self-control. They'll even insult each other in public. I mean, I'm like, wow, you guys are still together? Just dragging it on. A failed relationship. All right, so what is an argument? An argument is a claim that must be supported by evidence. Evidence should be in quotation marks. An argument is a reasoned, logical way of demonstrating that the writer's position, belief, or conclusion is valid. Oh my goodness, the word valid. That's the problem. How do you know if something's truly valid? Or if something has enough evidence to suggest that this is 100%. You'd be surprised how many lies are out there. I'll just leave it at that. But when it comes to your partner, this is why arguments are useless. Many times there's no evidence, and therefore you either trust the messenger or not. Lots of arguments are also not even logical. They are based on either emotion or intuitive thoughts. Yeah, what happens if you don't have any evidence? You see how useless an argument is? And how are you going to determine if something's valid or not? Just have the discussion. Why do you have to prove things? Now, if you're making a claim that so-and-so did this, what are you going to tell your partner? Well, I wasn't there. No, you have to trust them, right? See, trust is oh my goodness, that's the most important thing in any relationship is trust. Whether it's business or an intimate, lifelong relationship, you name it. A friendship, once the trust is broken, it's over with. There is no more relationship. So, when it comes to arguments, why even bother? Because then you're going to deal with validity and evidence. How fun is that? Ever heard of the word belief or feeling? I feel that this is the case, or I believe maybe this is the case. You got to listen to your partner and you got to trust them because you weren't there if they're explaining a certain scenario that just happened. Something that just happened in their day. You have to trust that it happened. So, if it sounds fishy or whatever, what are you going to do? Debate with your partner and start suspecting that it all depends. That's sad if it's true. If they're lying. I just went over the ranking stream yesterday about lying. That's a terrible situation. But yeah, just another reason why our arguments are just... What are you going to do? You're going to have arguments and debates all the time. And even for the people who say, no, there's a time and place for debates. Is there really? You know how much of a waste of time that is? Let's go over a group discussion. Something 100% productive. How to start the discussion. Advantages of beginning group discussion. You're not only getting the opportunity to speak, but also get to grab everybody's attention. That's exactly what you should do with your partner. 100% attention. If you're watching TV, turn it off. If you're listening to music, turn it off. If they need your undivided attention, you give them that undivided attention. Okay, that's as simple as that. Now, if you have to be multitasking at the time, say, okay, honey, I'll be right with you. Let me just finish this really quick. Or, okay, I got to do this, but I'll be back at this time. Just discuss it, right? Discuss the situation. It's that simple. It really is. But people, they forget this. And then they start to act controlling. No, you got to do this and you got to do this right now. And be like, wow, no consideration for, I'm actually busy doing something right now. If it's that important, I'll stop doing, if I can, what I'm doing, right? It's mutual respect here. You have an edge over other candidates as you get maximum uninterrupted time to share your views and portray skills to the examiner. If there is an examiner, there doesn't always have to be one. All right. So, from family issues to problems at work or with friends and acquaintances of all types, if you truly want something done right, always seek to amicably solve problems in a way that works for everyone involved. Okay? So, with your partner, I'm sure you guys know what that means. There's always a way, because then, that's when discussions turn into arguments, because the desperation is there. Like, oh, you're not listening to me. I need this to be done right now. Okay, you didn't have to yell about it. If it's so urgent, just speak to me in an urgent way, which is far more strict, right? Far more stern, but you don't have to be angry and... if it's an emergency, like time-sensitive event, I understand, but never treat your partner with disrespect, yelling at them or ordering them in such a disrespectful manner. It doesn't matter. There's time to solve things as quickly as possible if needed, if it's that time sensitive. But never lose respect for your partner when addressing them. They should be there to help you, not there to be your, quick slave in the way that it's put here. To just follow your order and just do it. Like the nagging type. And they're gonna nag you to go do this, go do that, and then when you're done with this, go do that. You think that relationship's gonna survive for the rest of their lives? No. They're gonna truly go at each other in the worst ways, and it could even turn violent. And you don't want that. The truth is, nobody wins in any kind of argument. You know why? Because after all of that expended, wasted energy going back and forth for who knows how long, you will eventually end up discussing the topic anyway. Think about it. You guys are all huffing and puffing and sweating bullets. And then you're like, well, how about we just, you want, or, and if it's not like that, you guys, what? Shut the door and run in your room like a little kid? You know how many immature adults are involved in relationships? Like even married. They're so immature. They'll run into their room and shut the door and then conduct a silent treatment. You know how immature that is, right? It happens all the time. Or they get in the car and they drive away. Seriously? You just leave your partner behind? That's why arguments are worthless. They do nothing but destroy anything and everything. It's entertaining for people. Just like watching Star Wars, shooting a bunch of men with lasers and they're all dead, but hey, that's cool, right? What if it was a bunch of women in those outfits? Female soldiers. I don't think that would work. So why does it work in the other way, right? It's always the guys who die in masses in all these movies and wars too. That's okay, but what about an all-female army? That's not okay. What about kids? That's not okay. So why is war okay anyways? Oh, because guys die and that's okay. See, now it makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. A war is like the ultimate argument. There are no winners. There's only death and destruction. End of story. I should know. I did deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan. That's not even all of the world's conflict. And it could get much worse than that. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But when it comes to your home, don't bring the war at home. It's the same ending result. You guys are going to argue and then you're going to separate. Then you're going to come back and argue again for round 2. Because you don't have the wisdom and intelligence to have a peaceful conversation. A discussion. Right? To discuss things. Oh boy. It's a really chaotic world out there. That's right. Game over. Arguing is nothing but a game that makes everyone involved behave like in an adversarial manner. In fact, arguments and debates are precisely the reason why our world is so divided. Where did wisdom, honor, and intelligence go? That's my question. Now, online, you see this all the time. No sense of honor. No sign of wisdom. No sign of intelligence. And just a bunch of drama freaks. Circus clowns and circus performers. Circus hosts. Because they love a circus. They're like, oh, trolls, come to my discussion. Oh, yeah, this is entertaining. Yeah? I've been around such people. All these immature losers. You can only imagine what their relationship is like if they even have a relationship. A serious one. Offline. They're going to be a loser online and definitely a loser offline. That's the way that works. So they expose themselves by the way they behave. I'm not talking about momentarily. I'm talking about chronically. These people are always like this. Drama addicts. Every single day. They'll even have streams that last 10 hours or more. As whatever the max is. And it's nothing but foolish, time-wasting drama. And people actually find that interesting. What a waste of life. So don't do that to your partner. Okay? With these stupid arguments. Because it's the same result. It just shows you how unintelligent you are. How dishonorable you are. No sense of respect. I don't even care if it's a, hey, let's just play. Like, hey, it's still a waste of time. There's no wisdom in debates at all. You're just showing how immature and naive you really are. So what I do is toss unproductive, negative people out of my life without feeling the need to waste my precious time even debating them to no end. Because even if I have the strongest argument, they're never going to listen. So you should too, okay? You should seriously toss all these losers out of your life, whether it's online or offline. But when it comes to your partner, both of you must reject debating, the urge to debate each other, or to participate in debates with others. Trust me, they're not going to listen to you. I don't care. You could be the perfect speaker. You could have the perfect presentation, the perfect arguments. They're never going to listen to you because they don't want to admit that they're wrong, the opposing side. And so even if it's blatantly obvious and the whole crowd agrees with you in a formal debate, it doesn't matter. Nobody's a winner. Because there will always be another side. There will always be intelligent people and unintelligent people, wise people and clowns, empty-skulled clowns. It's never going to change. There's always going to be good and evil because evil people can't help themselves. It's like they're possessed by demons. They can't. You can't reason with them. You can't have any type of logical explanation, nothing. You can't bargain with them, nothing. They will always be what they are. And that's just the sad truth about the matter. So let's go ahead and move on. Make sure you're not with a partner that falls into that category. Ask yourself just how important debating really is. Is it really that important to be correct about something? I mean, because perhaps one day you'll find yourself with a debate gone wild, putting your relationship in jeopardy, as I mentioned before. Was it really worth it? I don't think so. I would hope that your answer is no. Because so many people have broken up and divorced over silly debates. Because they have conflicted beliefs and arguments. And so, you'll be surprised. They bring the baggage of stress home with them from their job. They get stressed at work. They come home and they take out their stress on their partner. And they end up yelling at each other and fighting with each other. Or maybe the partner who was at home is stressed for being alone, not having much to do. Whatever the scenario is, if you have a stay-at-home mother or vice versa, there's a lot of stay-at-home fathers too. There's single mothers, single fathers, so they even debate with friends. They want to take out their frustration. I mean, just watch an episode of Housewives, the Housewives of Beverly Hills. You'll get the gist. You think that stuff is fiction. It may be. Maybe it's acting, but that stuff actually happens in real-world relationships. It happens almost just like that. All these silly little debates. It's always over the most stupidest things you can imagine. I mean, imagine a world that everybody just would have conversations in peace, just peaceful discussions, and debating didn't even exist. We would have wisdom. We would. We wouldn't have conflict anymore. And people think it's so cool to debate. Oh, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to win. Like they're little kids. It's so stupid. They actually think they're winning something, people. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think that's winning anything? Even if you formally win a debate, what did you win? A trophy, prize money, or just the right to say, "Oh, we won because we were right"? Well, guess what? The other side's still going to exist. So you just wasted your time, blah blah blah, and nothing got done. Nothing positive. Oh my goodness, man. It's like trying to put out a forest fire with a cup of water. How many times are you going to refill that before you realize that it's not enough? And that it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you just got to let the world burn and just do your best to prevent more forest fires. That's the way I see it. Only intelligent and wise people seek to have peaceful discussions with others. Meanwhile, the foolish, immature, negative losers will always seek to argue with you, completely unable to solve problems due to their lack of intelligence. They're the ones who lack intelligence. That's why it doesn't matter who wins a debate. And you'll be surprised. People who collaborate with each other on or offline, they're like, "Hey, you guys want to talk about this?" Almost everybody's over on the other side with the stupid debates. Oh, did you see what this guy said? Did you see how he said this? Oh, this. Oh, he got him. Oh, the circus clowns. That's the sad reality that we're living in these days. Everybody wants the stupid drama, right? Instead of having peaceful discussions about something productive that you can actually either learn from or feel good from, right? To feel good about. It's crazy. It really is crazy, but it does boil down to good old wisdom. Something that maybe your parents and parents' had, maybe not. Just because you go back in the past doesn't guarantee you that everybody was wise and intelligent. But I'll guarantee you that a lot more people were compared to these days. Yeah, we're living in a world of fear these days where people don't even want to discuss anything. It's a crazy world. So, if you truly want to become happy, inseparable, powerful, lifelong, eternal soulmates, then you can't waste any precious moments arguing over ridiculous things that could instead be easily discussed and simply dealt with. Got it? Get it? Good. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode 7 of the Versus series. And I hope you guys take this one seriously. Because it's just invaluable. I mean, it's priceless to have in a relationship. Respect, trust, productivity, you name it. Honor. You should honor each other by working together, never against each other. Your first and only teammate is your partner. Unless you guys have kids, then they're your co-workers. Because keep in mind, they could betray you one day, and it's out of your hands no matter how much you spoil them. It's a harsh reality, but that's a different topic for another day. Your first and only priority should always be each other. That was before your kids, right? I'm not saying don't love your kids. I'm just saying beware. Because who you start with is who you're going to end with. Once the kids leave the house, guess where it comes back? The circle is now complete. You come back to each other. And if you guys have weakened your relationship over the most ridiculous things, even if you have kids or not, regardless, then guess how weak you're going to be at the end when you finally reach the finish line and are ready to go on to a new journey together. You're not going to make it. So make sure that you will make it, whether or not you have kids. And it's how you treat each other each and every single day. How you think about your partner, even though they don't know what's in your mind, your thoughts. How you feel about your partner. They don't know what's in your heart. So reassure them that you always are in a state of love with each other. And if there's problems, you better solve them. Two heads are better than one. So no arguments, no foolish debates. Even if you're messing around, stop it. Okay, that's all I got for you guys. Much love to everybody. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned to the next one.